we're gonna be completely transparent. This video is I was gonna say in large part, but in its entirety because of Mike's Mike and Uncarly. Those are my inspirations, and I say inspirations because really what I'm doing is stealing their idea and covering an IP that they haven't yet. Mike's Mike has kind of covered this IP, but we're gonna ignore that. That was a long time ago. I have time blindness. Is that an excuse? No. We are factually, contractually, and actually going to steal his idea. So it's mine now. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Today we're going to be talking about the Twilight Saga by Stephenie Meyer. So, the Twilight Saga. I'm pretty sure the first book was released in 2005. Either that or the first movie was released in 2005, but I'm pretty sure the first movie was released in 2007. Don't quote me on that. And if you do quote me on that, don't put my name. Put Mike's name, because he has the clout to back it up. So, the first movie released 2007. The first book, the books are what we're going to be talking about. We'll reference the movies, but remember, we're talking about the books. So if I say something that was not in the movie, that's because it was in the book. And if it wasn't in the book, my setup's a little ratchet. My cat is fucking an asshole. Any hoodles. So if it wasn't in the book, we're gonna act like Stephenie Meyer said it, and we're gonna act like my word is God. So shut the fuck up, because it was. Let's, without any further introduction, get started. So we start off this book with our main character, Bella. And Bella is not like other girls. She's pale. She lives in Arizona and she's pale. Unheard of. Pale white women never existed in the world. There will never be another girl like Bella. She's simply the only one. Any hoodles, she's moving from Arizona to Forks, Washington. She's doing this because her mom she's married to a minor league baseball player. He's a flop. We don't really care about him. He hasn't done anything that's like too bad, but he did kick off the plot of Twilight, so he is enemy number one. We do not like him here, simply for that. I do love Twilight, but it's a mess. So he is a minor league baseball player. He's moving all over, and her mom is following him. And we learn a little later that her mom's like irresponsible, and she's more of a parent than her mom is, which is slay. Ahead of her time. We also learn that she does not want to go to Forks. She does not like Forks. She's only going there because she is so selfless and so not like other girls, so not bitchy. I really don't think Stephenie Meyer likes women. That's a bold claim, and I have no evidence for that. But we're going to make it, and if you don't like it, please leave a comment under Mike's video of Twilight. Do not attack me. Anyhow, we can't use any hoodles anymore. That's getting a little stale. We're going to change up our word choices. Any hoodles. We learn that Bella she does not like the rain. We learn that a little later, but that's it's of course raining all the time in Washington because geography. I don't know. I'm not a science girly. So Bella goes to Forks, Washington. She gets settled in. Her dad gets her a truck. She loves it because she's not like other girls. One thing about Bella, she's not going to be like other girls. She drives a truck. An old truck, and she loves it, of course, because she doesn't want to go fast. Unlike these other girlies who are moving too fast. Bella gets a truck from notable character Jacob Black. Unproblematic for right now. We're on Jacob's side for right now. Just you wait. Just you fucking wait. Another notable character, Billy Black. Billy Black is in a wheelchair. From what I remember, Stephenie Meyer did not. She didn't do ableist rhetoric, which is great. That's one thing that we can say she did not do. Sorry. One thing Stephenie Meyer isn't is an ableist. So don't worry. Not a feminist. But that's okay. She's also not an ableist. So we Also, meet Charlie. And listen, until the third book, Charlie is my favorite character. And he's your favorite character, too. I don't care if you've seen Twilight. I don't care if you like other characters. He's your favorite now. He's not like other men, except he is like other men. This is just absolutely getting ruined. It's okay if it's a mess. It's Twilight, so if it's a vibes, that's okay. I'm gonna throw my cat off the bed really quick. We're gonna not deal with that. We're falling. Girly, pay attention. You were falling asleep there. You can't have that. Anywho, we're getting back to the plot. We lost the plot. It's okay. Stephanie Meyer loses the plot a lot. So we don't. It doesn't matter. Charlie's great. Charlie is not a man of very few words, which fits Bella because she's not like other girls. She doesn't like to talk. So that she's completely fine with that. They have like a love-hate relationship, except like not hate. Like Bella loves him. She does all the cooking. Yes, she does the cooking. Yes, she does the cleaning. Yes, she do whatever when you want, when you're needing. Nikki is quaking, coming for her brand. It's okay. She did kind of marry a pedophile too, so period. Let's skip to Bella's first day, because I don't really care about the truck very much. Not very much happens. A lot of pages go by, but not very much happens. Bella's first day. Immediately, Bella is loved by absolutely everybody. Mike Newton has a major crush on her. Flop of the century, Mike Newton. Jessica, I forgot her last name. It doesn't matter. She's irrelevant. She's not a vampire. It doesn't matter. Irrelevant as well. She's Bella's first friend, but we don't like Jessica in this household. Angela, we do like Angela. I don't remember Angela's last name either, but that's okay. Angela's better. She's also irrelevant though, because she does not suck blood or turn into a werewolf, so does not matter. We also meet a couple other irrelevant flops, but we won't talk about them until they're more important. So we're both Bella's first day. Bella is like, oh my gosh, I just don't want to be seen because I'm not like other girls. And then until we get to biology. And she goes to biology. Oh, biology or chemistry? Don't remember. I think it's biology, but it should have been chemistry because that would have made up for the lack of chemistry between Bella and Edward, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So, she goes to biology/chemistry, and she meets Edward. And Edward is sitting over there, at least in the movie. It's also described this way in the book, but he's sitting over there like... he's acting like she's stank. Like her, like, she is, like, ground zero for the stankiest fucking stank ever. So he is not having any of it. She's smelling herself, and she's like, Girly Pop, do I smell that bad? We learn more about that later. So that goes through, and she's like, what a fucking weirdo. Yes, I agree. We should have stopped there. That should have been it, but whatever. Bella goes home, and she doesn't go home. She goes to gym, and then she fucks everything up because Bella doesn't like other girls. She can't do sports. I don't know. Stephanie Myers really just does not like other girls. And then Bella goes home. Flop of the century, Edward. We don't see him for a little more, but it's not very much because it just gets skipped over because Stephanie Myers did not want to write about anything other than Edward and Bella. Which I understand. I also get obsessed, but Girly Pop, you're writing a book. So, Bella goes to school. Edward's not at school for a while. If you read Midnight Sun, it's explained more, but we're not getting to that mess yet. We're staying with the first Twilight Saga, written in 2005. We can't skip ahead of the plot, Girly. Okay, so Edward finally comes back to school. They talk a little bit. He seems to be very interested in her. He's like, I'm so sorry that I acted like you a stink-ass bitch. I'm actually gonna be nice to you now. So she's like, the fuck? She'd asked her friends like about like the Colons, and they told her. So we should probably introduce the Colons now because they're actually going to be way more important than any of the other flops that we've introduced. So we have Alice Colon. More about her later. She's an important character. Jasper Colon, don't like him. He's also going to be an important character. More about him in Eclipse. There is Emmett Colon. Love him. Himbo of the century. Honestly, happy Pride to Emmett. He's not gay, but I just feel like he needs to be told happy Pride. He's our himbo. He's our himbo. We also have Rosalie. I don't like her. But I also don't dislike her. We have a love-hate relationship with Rosalie. You and me. You understand. And then we aren't introduced to them yet, but we have Esme and Carlisle Cullen. And then we have our main boy, our final girl, Edward Cullen. Of course. Even if you haven't seen Twilight, if you've been under a rock for 10 centuries, you know who Edward Cullen is. One thing about Edward Cullen, he is going to be popping up in your mind. He is your Roman Empire. So, after this video, he will be. Do not look at Mike's video. We're just going to stop using words. I'm going to pantomime the rest of this to you. I didn't write a script. This is off the dome. This is off the motherfucking dome. So, we are... Bella and Edward have this conversation. That's where I was. Bella and Edward have this conversation. He asks her a bunch of things. He's like, do you like the weather? And she's like, I'm not like other girls. I actually don't like the rain. I prefer the sun, even though I'm pale. Whatever. He asked about her parents' divorce. And, like, I don't think that's appropriate to ask about for a person that you just met. And somebody who is his age, we'll get into that, should know better. Whatever. That first interaction, I completely forgot a plot point. Bella goes to the office because she is lost, and she wasn't going to ask for directions or something like that. I forget. It doesn't matter. Not important. Goes to the office, and Edward is there, and he is trying to change classes because Girlie is upset. He does not want to be in the same class as Bella. She goes in there, and she's like, God damn, I stink. Any hoodles. That's why she's a little more put off, because she's like, he hates me. I stink real bad. Girl, you don't know the half of it. Fast forward a little bit, because we're skipping past the irrelevant moments, because we don't have the time. I don't have the time on this earth, and you do not have the time. You're a busy working woman. Happy Pride, by the way. Let's skip ahead to when it starts snowing. We as an audience... I don't think I did that right. But it starts showing Charlie, love of the century, gets Bella ice tires for ice chains, or whatever they're called. Thingies that make your truck drive better in the ice. Because we're in Fort Washington, and one thing about Bella, she needs it. Because she's very accident prone. Which we've been seeing a little bit, but we haven't really gotten into. Don't worry, we'll get there. Bella gets to school. She drives real slow, so she doesn't crash. She is standing outside of her car, and she's standing there, and because she just realized that Charlie put those tires on for her, and she's like, oh my god, that's so nice of him. Who comes around the corner, flying at top speed, but Tyler. We did not talk about him because he was an irrelevant flop. Tyler is in his mom's minivan, and he is skidding across the ice, and he's going to absolutely smash the fuck out of Bella. Not in like a Twitter moment way, but like a gruesome like Reddit 4chan kind of way. Not great. Bella, before she gets collided with by a moving car, sees Edward across the parking lot, and she's like, oh, he's gonna see me die. Before you know it, Edward is right there, and he pulls her out of the way. But then the van comes back around and almost smacks Bella, so he puts his hands out to stop the van, and then lifts the van up and moves it away so they can get out. How did you lift a van? I know people have incredible strength during adrenaline, but not enough to leave marks in a van. Bella's like, how did you do that? And Edward is on his gaslighting game. Gaslighting game of the century. Give him an Emmy. Give him an Oscar. He is gaslighting her. He is fixing our problems with running out of fossil fuels single-handedly by providing enough gas to the entire world by the amount he's gaslighting Bella. And this will be a constant throughout the entire series, so keep up, bestie. She's like, how? I don't know what you mean. She's like, you were across the parking lot. I saw you, but you were by your car. And he was like, you're crazy. You hit your head. She did hit her head, but we'll learn later that she does not have a concussion. One thing about Bella, she's not going to get a concussion. One thing about Bella, she sees what she sees, she believes. She's not going to be gaslit. Edward does try. Edward does try to gaslight her, but that's neither here nor there. So, Bella is keeping that shit up, asking him questions, and he is like angry at her now. He's like, leave it be. I'll tell you later. That's a lie, but we'll more about that. She goes to the hospital because obviously she almost got crushed by a car, so she's going to the hospital. And she's like, no, don't make me ride in the ambulance. Edward doesn't have to ride in the ambulance, but she's like, don't make me ride in the ambulance. Girl, you almost got hit by a car. Be fucking for real right now. Be so for real. She goes to the hospital, and we meet Carlisle Cullen, DILF of the century. No, go away. The cat has returned. He is really wanting to learn about Twilight. He's obsessed. He is Team Jacob, even though he's a cat. So we meet DILF of the century, Carlisle Cullen. Honestly, DILF of several centuries. More about that in New Moon. I think we learn a little bit about it in this book, but no more about that in New Moon. So, DILF of the century, Carlisle Cullen checks Bella out, and not like that. He's we love Carlisle. He would never do that, unlike Edward. So, he's like, you don't have a concussion, and Edward's like, she hit her head. And obviously Carlisle is like consents like what's going on. He's like something that's going on, and Bella is like being shady, and she's like, it's so great that Edward was right there and not across the parking lot. Wink, 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 wink. And he's like, it's really great. And he's shooting Edward like looks like, girl. Bella catches up to Edward, and she's like, are you going to talk to me about this? And he's like, absolutely the fuck not. Nothing happened. You're fucking insane. Nobody's going to believe you even if you did tell them. Like I said, one thing about Edward, he's going to gaslight you. He's going to provide the Earth's natural gases back to us, so we don't have to worry about renewable energy because Edward is the sole provider of fossil fuels. Great. That happens. Bella does not want to go back to school. That's really not that important. She's so bashful. She's like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to know I got in a car accident. Well, almost got hit by a car. Sorry, not got in a car accident. She wasn't in a car. That's girly pop. Pay attention. Again, we do stop falling asleep. So, flop of the century Edward gaslights her. Does not believe it. She does not. She's on her thinking game. So, she is like, something is up. Her friends. He goes back to ignoring her and not talking to her. Her friends plan a trip to La Push. And then, finally, he goes back to talking to her. And he's like, we really shouldn't be friends. And then they become friends. And, like, they hang out and whatnot. I don't remember what happens first. We're going to talk about Port Angeles first, because I think that's what happens. There's also a dance coming up. One thing about Bella is she's going to be asked out by every single male character in the book. Because she's not like other girls. First of all is Mike Newton. Flop of the universe, Mike Newton. We hate him. He hasn't done as bad as some of the characters that we'll get into, but we don't like him. She's like, oh no, I'm actually gonna be out of town. She's not. She just doesn't want to go to the dance with anybody, let alone him. And he's like, oh, okay. And then Eric, who we haven't gotten into, kind of like a nerd. He's more important in the movie than he is in the book. He's mentioned a little bit in the book, and then he kind of disappears, doesn't exist anymore. One thing the movie did change, but whatever. He asked her out as well, and she's like, oh my gosh, oh, so silly. I actually am not going to be in town. She's like, what a coincidence. And he's like, oh, I heard that, but I wanted to ask anyway, because I thought you were just letting him down easy. Girly pop, excuse me, whatever. We love the audacity, but anywho's, he's not as bad of a flop as Mike, but whatever. Then, Bella is going to leave school. She's leaving school. And girly pop, stop leaning over. There. Girly. Okay, girly pop, that's not iconic. Bella is leaving school, and she is trying to leave the parking lot, and Edward is blocking everyone off, because he's waiting for his siblings to get in the car with him. And Bella's stuck behind him, and who pulls up behind her but flop of the century, Tyler. Tyler gets out of his car, Tyler is a guy, in case you forgot from like 5 minutes ago, Tyler is a guy that almost hit Bella with a car. Tyler gets out of his car, goes up to Bella's window, knock, knock, knock. She's like, I'm blocked in by Edward. It's really not my fault. And he's like, oh, I know. And she's like, okay. And he's like, do you want to go to the dance with me? Mind you, I didn't mention this fact, but this is a Sadie Hawkins dance. This is like a girl's choice dance. So the fact that Bella's gotten asked about by 3 men, very 2005 era core, we don't love it though. She's like, no, I'm going to be out of town. And by this point, she's a little pissed. She's like, and he's like, okay, I'll see you at prom. These men, I swear to God, we're going to eliminate the entire male population of Forks, and it's not going to be a huge loss. So, she looks in front of her, and she sees Edward laughing in his rearview mirror, and honestly, the inner demons almost take over, and I'm really supporting her at this moment. She is thinking about ramming her car into the back of Edward's Volvo, because her truck will survive, and she'll probably smash the hell out of it. She does not let the intrusive thoughts win. She almost does, but he pulls out of there. So, we fast forward a little bit. She goes to Port Angeles with some girlfriends to get dresses for them. My cat is honestly a menace. And she is like, Slay, I'll go with you. It's going to be so fun. I'm not getting a dress, obviously, because I'm not going to the dance, because I have this plan that I'm really not planning on. But whatever. Not he, sorry. Where did I get he from? He'll come in a minute. But she is talking with her girlies at the dress shop, like really not paying attention. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to go check out this bookstore. One thing about Bella, she's going to travel alone in a city that she has never been to before. She just goes off on her own. Whatever. She goes down some back alleys, gets accosted by some not great people. We learn a little bit more about them in a second. I'll tell you then. Almost gets SA'd. Not great. Not a great look for Bella. And then who comes to save her? We're gonna borrow a thing from Mike's Mike. Go ahead and guess. 1, 2. Of course, it's Edward. Shiny Volvo is there. He's like, get the fuck in, girly. She gets in. He speeds off, and he's like, distract me. And she's like, from what? And he's like, if you could know what they were thinking. And she's like, and you can. She's like, okay, put your seatbelt on. And he's like, put your seatbelt on. Be so fucking for real. By this point, he's going like 90 miles per hour, like in a town. So, whatever. They like start to talk, and Bella learns that he can read minds. And she's like, oh, that's so silly, goofy, bestie. That's so like magical. And honestly, same. I'm with Bella at this moment. I'm with her at this moment. We have not learned about Edward's flopping era. So that's fine. We haven't learned about all the things that he has, all the crimes against humanity that he has committed. So they go to meet up with Angela and Jessica Flop of the Century, Flopatronic, at the restaurant that they're supposed to meet up at. They've already gotten dinner. These girlies, I swear, they really just wrote Bella off as dead as soon as she fucking left. I swear to God. Edward gets there, and they're like, oh my gosh, Bella, you're not dead. Slay. And they're like, okay, let's go home. And Edward's like, I think Bella should get some dinner in her. And they're like, oh my God, you're hanging out with Edward Cullen. Because one thing I didn't mention, one thing about Edward is he's not going to interact with people from the school. He's actually not going to interact with any of the women because he's too good for them. And that's what they think. I would say that they're too good for him. But we'll learn more about that in a second. So they're like, okay, slay. And they're like, wink, 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 go get it, Bella. Get that bag, hun. She goes in, they get sat at the table. The waitress is very flirty with Edward. Cannot blame her. He is pretty, but whatever. He's actually described as like really, 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 really gorgeous, and I think Robert Pattinson did a really good job about that. The costume department was doing him no favors, but he is a very attractive man, so we'll give the costume department a little pass, even though they kind of like were rooting for his downfall. They're preying on it. He goes in there, and they discuss how Edward can read minds. And he's like, I can read everybody's mind but yours. And Bella's like, oh, I must have something wrong with me. Which, same, if somebody did tell me, like, oh, I can read minds but I can't read yours, I'd be like, what's wrong with me? Is it because, like, my like neurodivergent, like what's up, bestie? And what I'm not the first person to say this, and I will not be the last person to say this, but it is because Bella's head is empty. Honestly, that's never the reason. Like we'll get a reason in a later book, but Bella honestly has no thoughts in her head empty, absolutely nothing going on up there. And I honestly believe that is the reason that Edward cannot read her thoughts, because she does not have enough thoughts to read. So they talk about all of that. Bella eats and she drinks like 3 Cokes. I don't know why Stephanie Myers really mentioned that, but whatever. And then he drives her back. She realizes his hands are really cold. So there's all that. I really think La Push came first, but it really doesn't matter what order we go in. Bella invited Edward to La Push, but she goes there. She meets up with Jacob, Slayer of the Century, until book 3. Do not worry, we will get there. Jacob Black, he is walking with her on the La Push beach. La Push is an Indian reservation for the Native Americans that of the, oh my goodness gracious. Oh, what is their tribe? We're just not gonna... It's okay. Stephanie Myers didn't feel like it was alright enough to actually donate to the tribe that she... This is a real-life tribe that she stole the ideas from, so we will mention that in a future video, because we want to give credit where credit is due, but we also... Really, I have a bad memory, and we're not editing. We're just going to post this full send, so we can't look that up. If I remember, I will say that later in the video. I'll keep thinking on that while I talk. But Jacob was like, my tribe has all of these stories. And she's like, okay, go ahead. And because people, she had, at the beach, at the bonfire, on the beach, they were like sitting around and stuff. And maybe it wasn't a bonfire. Maybe they're just sitting around on logs. But Jacob's other friends, oh, the Quileute tribe. There we go. The Quileute tribe. Jacob's friends were like, the Cullens don't come here, because she invited Edward to the beach, and he's like, oh, I don't want to go. And he didn't want to go because he's not allowed. And they're like, he doesn't come here. The Cullens don't come here. And she's like, I'm clocking that, but I'll ask Jacob about that. One thing about Bella, she's going to be manipulative. She says, Jacob is like 2 years younger than me. I can manipulate him with my sexuality. Not like sexuality, like gay, straight, whatever. Like sexuality as in like sexual prowess. Bella's like, I've never been a sexual creature before. And she's like, Jacob, I'm just a silly woman. Do you want to tell me about all your tribe's secrets? So Jacob tells her a bunch of things. An important one is that like there was a legend that the Quileute tribe was descended from wolves. Pay attention to that, besties. That will be important in book 2. Then he also tells her a story about the Cullens. And he says, so, the Quileute tribe is descended from wolves, and that's important because they're wolves because the Cullens are there. And the Cullens are called the Cold Ones, or vampires, by normies like Bella. But the Cullens are not like other vampires, and they only drink the blood of animals. We'll learn another term for that the Cullens have. That is like a little like silly goofy like term that they use. But we'll just call them like the vampires that don't like drink human blood. They drink animal blood. So they're allowed to stay on the land. And Bella's like, she confronts Edward about it, and she tells him her theory. They go out in the woods for this, of course. No thoughts in her head. Absolutely not. She just learned that this man's a vampire, and she's just like, one thing about me is I'm going to take men out to the woods and ask them about their serial killer tendencies. But I digress. She says, I know you are. Vampire. If you've seen the movie, you've seen the iconic scene. I know what you are. Say it. Vampire. Yes. Slay. Oscar goes to Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart. They ate. Iconic. Honestly, the moment of the century. The moment of my lifetime. Yes. So, Edward is a vampire. Edward's like, yeah, I'm a vampire. Does that scare you? And she's like, In her head, she's like, a little bit. But then she's like, absolutely not, not at all. No, sir, no, ma'am. And he's like, it should. I'm a killer. Honestly, Edward is on his emo grind set, but more about that in book 2. It doesn't really come back into play in this book, more towards the end, but just remember that. Keep that in your little noggin. So, finally, Edward's like, yeah, I'm a vampire, and then he's like, my entire family's vampires, I can live forever, I'm really strong, I can run really fast, I can read minds, of course, my people in my family can do stuff like that, all that shit. She's like, okay, cool, slay, yeah, slay, okay, yes, I'm living for it. Bella knows now. So now we can get on with the actual plot of Twilight. Because all of the other stuff are relevant. Jacob was actually even more relevant than he is now, but maybe we'll get into that more in New Moon when he actually becomes a character. So, Bella and Edward do their little straight person stuff. She learns more about him. They never really they don't ever get any cute little moments. They don't get any bonding time. They go straight from strangers to absolutely madly in love, I cannot live without you. The reason that Edward, I did not mention this, but it seems more important to mention this now. The reason that Edward was actually in there's a spider on my wall. The reason that Edward was actually in Port Angeles was because he was stalking Bella, because Bella is a danger magnet. One thing about Bella is any dangerous thing within a 90-mile radius is actually going to kill her. Unless somebody steps in, because we know that the girlies can't protect themselves, of course. Stephenie Meyer really on her anti-feminist grind set in 2005, but you know what? She got that bag. So, they have these moments that are really not that important. Not really until the meadow scene. Cat, I swear to God. And then speaking of the meadow scene, Edward is so the dance is coming up, and Edward's like, do you really need to go to... She told everybody that she was going to Seattle. And he's like, do you really need to go to Seattle? And she's like, no, not really. That was just an excuse. And he's like, okay, so hang out with me instead. So they go to the meadow. Beautiful meadow. This is where Edward gives her a piggyback ride. That doesn't come until after. They hike all the way there. He shows her this beautiful meadow. They hang out in it. One thing about Bella is she can't get very close to Edward because Edward is like, I'm a killer. I will kill you. Which, honestly, yeah, if he is a monster, maybe that's not maybe that is an offensive term in this day and age, but Edward is a monster. He will kill Bella. So he's like, you can't get very close, and she's like, I'm not afraid of you, and he's like, you should, and that's where he tries to scare her. We got this scene when Bella told Edward that he was a vampire, but this actually happens in the meadow in the book. Really not that important, doesn't change a whole lot. But really, he should have done it when... The movie kind of got it right. He really should have done it when she figured out he was a vampire and not, afterwards. But I digress. The meadow scene happens. Not very important. They, do a couple other things. Really not important whatsoever. Billy Black is at her house when Edward drops her off one of these times. Edward actually is on she's riding piggyback on his back. She gets really motion sick from his running because he can run really fast. The movies don't make it really look that fast, but it's really fast in the books. We don't really get a gauge. We don't really get to see exactly how fast, but I digress. Really fast. So Edward and Bella are hanging out. He takes her back one of the times, and Billy Black is there, and he's like, oh, I can't get that close. The Quilliats don't like me. And she's like, oh yeah, because whatever. Edward and his family they classify themselves as vegetarians because they don't drink human blood. That's their little inside joke. She gets back, and Billy Black has Jacob go to the car, and he's like, be careful, Bella. Be careful around the colons, or I might tell Charlie. And she's like, how dare you tell my dad? Billy Black is 100% in the right. 100% in the right. He's literally just looking out for Bella. It might be because he's racist. He is racist towards vampires. It is interesting. It's an interesting choice to make the Native Americans the racist ones towards vampires and have the white people be persecuted. But whatever, I digress. We'll get more into that in book 2 when it's kind of like more established. But whatever. We don't really get a lot of that in this book. We really don't even learn about the werewolves at all, except for that little tidbit that Jacob gave us. But Billy Black is like, stay away from him, Bella. He's dangerous, but doesn't like go into the whole vampire thing. They kind of dance around it, whatever. Then the Edward and Bella they're hanging out, and there's going to be a storm one night. So Edward's like, let me kidnap you. We're going to play baseball. And she's like, I don't play baseball. I'm too uncoordinated. And he's like, well, me and my family are going to play baseball. You're going to be like a umpire and like call the shots and whatever. And she's like, okay. So they go out. The Colons have to have a thunderstorm when they play baseball because that's just how it gotta be. They're so strong and they hit the ball so hard and whatever, and they run into each other so hard, which is honestly a little homoerotic. That it sounds like thunder, so they have to play during a thunderstorm. Whatever, it's convoluted, but it rains all the time, so who really cares? They start playing baseball. Bella's like, oh my gosh, Edward's so fast. Edward's the fastest one of the Cullens. That doesn't really matter a whole lot. In the movie, it kind of does a little more, but it really doesn't ever get brought up. So they are playing baseball, and there is a pack of evil vampires that are coming through, but like they're just like regular vampires that like kill people. And there are 3 of them: James, Victoria, and Laurent. Laurent, I think is how it's actually pronounced, but I'm going to pronounce it like Laurent because I am an American and I am stupid. Laurent is our only person of color besides Tyler. We don't really get a whole lot of those. I mean, we do have Native American representation in Jacob Black and the Quileutes, but they're really not that involved in this movie either. But I digress. So, there's another character in the books that is kind of like an antagonist towards Bella, and that's Tyler's love interest, but we don't really see her in the movies, and she is flop of the century and not that important. So we're not really going to talk about her either. So, these vampires come up because they hear the sounds of the, like, all of the stuff, and they're like, oh my gosh, vampires, slay. Alice sees them coming, because one thing about Alice is Alice can see the future. Alice can see the future, besties. I forgot about this. Edward talked about this in one of their irrelevant hanging out sessions. And Bella's like, ooh, Alice can see the future. Edward can read minds. Jasper can influence people's emotions, which we learn about more in book 2 and book 3. We really learn about it in book 3, but we learn about it a little bit in book 2. So, Alice sees the vampires coming, and she's like, oh no, Bella. For some reason, they don't, like, run with Bella. I think it's explained because, like, oh, what if they, like, catch her scent? But what if you all, like, what if, like, a couple of you stay back and the rest of you just run with Bella? I don't know. You could have tried something. They're like, just, like, get behind us and, like, let's, like, hope they don't smell you. So they come up and they're like, buddy, they're like, hey, like, we were just passing through. In the books, they're, like, described as, like, disheveled. In the movie, they're beautiful. Obviously, all vampires are beautiful, but, like, the actors in the movie, very pretty. Especially the actress for Victoria, very pretty. Love her. The leader is James, but Laurent in the book speaks for them, and they're all like, oh, okay, can we play with you? And Carlisle's like, absolutely, because one thing about Carlisle is he's going to be a pacifist, which is a little annoying in some of the future parts, but whatever. Actually, it's going to be annoying in this book a little further on. We get the part of them, like, they're like, okay, they're about to, like, leave and everything, and then the wind, enemy number 1, comes through, blows Bella's scent, and James, like gets down in the crouch and is about to, like, lunge towards Bella. Edward's, like, snarling. Bella's like, oh my gosh, Edward's so scary, but he's scary for me. Oh my god, I'm so special. They fight about it. James is like, I'm gonna get her. And they're like, no. And then, like, there's, like, this tense moment. They're all like, ooh. And then Laurent's like, ooh, we'll just leave. And they're like, yeah, sure. And Edward, like, is like shoving her back. He's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And she's like, what the hell's going on? Somebody needs to tell me what's going on. They get her in a car and everything. And he's like, James is a tracker. He's gonna track you to the ends of the earth because I, like, made it, like, difficult for him. I don't really listen. Toxic masculinity at its finest. Men will do anything but go to therapy. I swear to God. I swear to God. Whatever. That's happening. So Bella is getting shepherded away. They're gonna take her from Forks, and then she's like, "Oh my god, I have to go back and protect my dad because what if James comes to my house?" And finally, she convinces Edward, and Alice is like, "Don't worry." Emmett's also in the car, but Emmett doesn't really play a whole huge point. Emmett likes to start fights. Emmett, like, is a big tough guy. He's really strong. Himbo of the century, honestly. Already went over this. So they're like, "No, it's okay. Like, let's go back for Charlie." So she goes back for Charlie. She starts packing. She gaslights Charlie, and she's like, "I hate Forks." She says the same thing that her mom said to him when she left him. Breaks his heart. But one thing about Bella is she's going to... Sorry, we had to take... My cat is being a menace. One thing about Bella is she's going to break Charlie's heart a lot. So she leaves with Alice and Jasper. She tells Charlie she's going to Phoenix to visit her mom. That's not where she's going. Alice and Jasper take her. This is what's happening while Esme is wearing Bella's clothes, attempting to, like, lead them off the trail, and Edward and, like, Carlisle are also going in a different direction, trying to distract James. They're, like, all going in different directions. They're trying to hoodwink them. Bella gets safely, like, away. They actually go to Phoenix, but they do not visit Bella's mom. Bella's mom is not there. James does not, like, nobody goes for Charlie because, like, they did this, like, all, like, this charade while James is there. So they go to Phoenix. Bella is not happy. Bella is so scared. Bella's like, oh no, like, what if I get anybody hurt? Like, what if I get, like, my new family hurt? Honestly, slay for Bella, claps for Bella. Like, thank you for thinking about anybody but yourself for 5 seconds, but girly, they've got this. So Alice is, like, seeing visions of, like, James, like, keep changing his mind, and then finally she sees him in this ballet studio. And Bella's like, oh my gosh, that's my old ballet studio. So weird. Finally, we're going to skip past the irrelevant parts. Bella worries. Victoria gets information for James. James calls Bella, and James is like, girly pop, I have your mom. The first thing Bella heard on the phone call was her mom, like, being, like, very, like, Bella, oh my gosh, Bella. James cuts her off, and he's like, Bella, if you ever want to see your mom again, come find me. Come to this ballet studio and go. Well, he's like, go to your house here in Arizona, and then come, like, and then eventually she goes to the ballet studio. She gets there. The whole time, like, she had to, in the books, she does this. She has to escape Alice and Jasper by, they go to the airport because Edward and Carlisle have lost James. Victoria is no longer being hoodwinked. They're like, fuck. So they're going to go meet up with Bella. And then Edward's going to hide her in, like, Alaska or whatever. I don't know. But Edward is on his way. They're at the airport. Bella is on her mind game shit. She manages to evade vampires that are, like, can see the future and whatnot. I don't really know how she does this when Alice can see the future, but we're not going to talk about that. Whatever. Bella goes to the ballet studio. She hears the mom's voice that's, like, same, like, oh my god, Bella. She finds a tape of like, her in, like, a skateboarding accident is what it is in the books. It's actually her dancing in the movie, but it's not really that important. Doesn't matter. So James is there, and he's like, I hoodwinked you. This is actually, like, I didn't actually have to involve your mom. She's like, oh my god, thank God. And he has a camera there, and he's like, I'm actually going to torture you, and I'm going to get Edward to come after me because this was too easy. Men will do anything but go to therapy. So Bella's like, I'm gonna die. He like breaks a lot of her bones, not to say, and then bites her, about to kill her. Edward gets there, of course, and everybody else gets there. James is killed. Bella is like, I'm in so much pain, and they're like, it's okay, Bella. And then they're like looking her over, does not notice that she got bitten, which when you get bitten, you get turned into a vampire. And sorry, another thing that was important in the books. This video is a mess, but that's okay because this book was a mess. So while she was with Alice, Alice explained how she does not know a lot about her past because when she got changed, she actually does not have any like memories of her human like past. When Bella goes to meet up with James, James says that only one other humans ever evaded her, and that was Alice. And another vampire was keeping Alice like protected at a mental asylum, and that vampire actually changed Alice. So James is like, well, there's no point in like going after her anymore because like I'm not going to be able to drink her blood. It's not fun anymore. So he kills the vampire that was protecting Alice, and that's where Alice came from. More about that in book 2, because I think that's where it gets explained more. So Bella is screaming out in pain, and they just think that they don't know that she's gotten bitten. Finally, she's like, oh my gosh, my hand. And they're like, oh my gosh, she got bitten. And Alice has already seen a future where Bella gets changed into a vampire or dies by Edward's hand. That's explained a little more in Midnight Sun, but as I said, we're not going to go into that mess. Messy. So they're like, oh, Bella's going to change. And Edward's like, no, I'm going to suck the venom out. He sucks the venom out. He's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kill her. He doesn't. She wakes up in a hospital. Obviously, her parents were like, what the fuck? The story is she fell down a flight of stairs at a motel, well, because Edward, with his parents, came to like be like, Bella, go back to your dad's house. Don't be so erratic. And she fell down a flight of stairs through a window. This has been mentioned before. I think it was in Uncarly's video. I don't remember whose video it was. Actually, it might have been Shitty Book Club. Check out them too. Love her. She made a shorter video about all of the books. This is just going to be book 1, and it's already 47 minutes. So we're on our grind set. But like she mentioned, if my daughter ever went on a date with somebody, ever was dating somebody, and the interaction with him ended with her in a hospital because she fell down a flight of stairs through a window, I'm going to have some questions. One thing about me is I'm going to have some questions. Edward gets off scot-free for now. He's going to have some repercussions in later books for different actions, but that hasn't come up yet. So her mom's there, and she's like, oh, you're going to come like live with me in Arizona. You'll love it. Like, blah, 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 blah. And Bella's like, no, I actually love Fork so much. Love it. And her mom's like, do you love this boy? Is that why? And she's like, yes. So Renee officially meets Edward. Edward is pretending to sleep. Vampires don't sleep, so whatever. Edward is also, we didn't go over this earlier. This video is a mess. Edward is like 112 years old. I don't know. He died in like 1918, or like was changed in 1918. He almost died from the Spanish influenza. We'll learn a little bit more about that in book 2. With that messy situation. Carlisle changed him. He was the first one to get changed of the Cullen family besides Carlisle. So Edward's pretending to sleep. Whatever. Bella like goes back home. She has like broken a lot of bones from the encounter with James. They go to the prom, Edward and Bella. Bella doesn't want to like dance. She's like, I can't dance. They have like fun and whatnot. Who shows up but Jacob Black. Jacob Black got bribed by his father with money and car parts, because one thing about Jacob is a mechanic. More about that in book 2, which will hopefully come out soon. I don't know. So Jacob is like, my dad paid me to tell you to stay away from Edward. I agree, but whatever. Messy. They do that and whatever. Into book 1. There was a little more that happened, but irrelevant. This video is already so long, so we really do not have time. So, summation of book 1. Bella meets Edward. They fall in love for absolutely no reason. They have no chemistry. these two people, there has never been people with less chemistry. When we get into book 2, we will actually explore relationship with chemistry, and I really think that Stephenie Meyers realized after this first book release, she's like, shit, I did not give these two characters a singular reason to fall in love whatsoever. So she remedied that by having Bella have moments with another character. Does not make sense to me. Whatever. We'll go a little behind the scenes too. So Stephenie Meyer actually included Jacob in the plot because herself and her editor liked Jacob's character in the initial draft of the first book, so they gave him a little bit bigger of a part. Really, the only reason he was included in the first book was because he was basically a plot device for Bella to find out that the Cullens are vampires, and that's the only reason he was included. Which we love, but for some reason, they liked his personality. Jacob has like a goofy personality. I can see that. Listen, he's the only person with a personality in this book, so I guess I can see that. Him and Bella have like a friendship in the next book. We'll explore that in the next video, but they have a friendship. It has a lot more chemistry than Edward and Bella will ever hope to have. There is absolutely no moment where I'm ever convinced that these two people are in love. It is simply for the plot, and you know what? I'm okay with that. I'm here for it. It's a slay. Whatever. Really, us Twilight apologists are in the trenches right now. Pray for me. If you guys like this video, please leave a like and some comments, because I am all alone out here in this Twilight fandom love. I would love to know if you Twilight girlies still exist, or if you have become vampires or werewolves, or just simply have stopped existing because of this absolute insanity. Mess. This absolute mess. I think that's about all I want to say about the first book. Maybe I'll script the next video. That's a lot though, and I work full-time, and I'm a college student. It's the summer, but like, we don't need to talk about that, girly. So we'll see what happens, but until the next video, this has been me with an unhinged, absolutely unhinged, unscripted video of Twilight. I hope you enjoyed. So until the next one, goodbye.